Let's see. Testing this.
First, I want to talk about 8 Sleep, whose pod technology can be added to your existing mattress to cool you down or warm up each side of your bed. Nothing ruins my night's sleep more than being hot, sweating.
Okay, I'm hoping. Can anybody see me? Can you write in the chat? Sorry about that. This is my first time ever going live, so I am kind of looking to see. And actually, let me see. Yeah, okay. It looks like I'm live. Hello, Jonathan. What's going on? Okay, now I'm going to turn this off. This is my first time ever going live, so I'm going to get some help here and look at this. So, hi, Connie. How you doing? Happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there. I hope that you guys are doing great. Thank you for taking this. Is my first time ever, and it's a precursor to what I want to do in the future. So I thought, oh man, let's do this and stuff. Okay, I just clicked the wrong button. So, hey, Carrie, how you doing? Good to see you on the chat. So hope you guys are doing great. Happy Mother's Day. And so what I thought about doing is I'm going to talk a little bit about Disneyland. I've been watching that Hey Bricky video, and I got a little bit of insight on what's going on. Then I'll do like a little question and answer session. Get acquainted. Any questions that you guys want to ask me, please feel free to do so. You guys are amazing. And then I'll go over some fundraising ideas that we have. So no problem. It's a good evening. I just noticed that. If you wouldn't have put that there, I wouldn't have even noticed that. But it's fine. I understand what you meant and stuff. But no, I wanted to do, and this is what I call the precursor. What I wanted to do come June, and I think it's going to be a great idea. I know I've shared it with some of you guys, and you've been watching the videos. We'll go over that, and let me know how everything is. How's it going? Everybody doing okay? Let me know how the voice sounds, if the voice is sounding okay, because this is I'm using a microphone, and whenever I record I have to kind of move back a little bit because it gets real loud and stuff. So that's why. But anyways, with that said, I'll start off right away with Disneyland. I watched the Hey Bricky videos. I watched a couple of them, and I'm actually, the reason I'm doing that because I will be going to Disneyland the next couple of days. I should actually be there Tuesday. By noon I should be there. I might even go live, maybe on Facebook or something. But they've been telling me that there's some stuff that's going to be going on there, so that's going to be interesting. So, but with everything that went on, the news that just dropped, that starting in 2026, January 2026, is going to be the last one. So yesterday I was jogging with Peg Leg Pete, as a matter of fact, and we were chit chatting about that, and so it got me thinking about some ideas. And it depends on what they're going to do. And so let me explain by that, because if you watch Hey Bricky, it's a lot of it is just speculation. It's not a for sure. And then if you didn't watch my video or you didn't watch his, I'm finally getting the gist of basically what the Disneyland forward is. They're changing from what I gather and from what I am understanding now, is that they're changing the zoning area. So now they're able to build stuff where they weren't able to before, instead of expanding the what they already had. And when I was watching the videos today, and I was pausing them, and I had the big screen and I was watching them, it really, if you remember when we run around Disney, we actually start, and especially the 10K and a half, we start in the parking lot and we run up Disney Way. We take a left on all of a sudden my mind's gone blank. Harbor, blank. Sorry. We take a left on Harbor. We run and we take a right on Catella. We run up, and it's basically a mile before we start even running in the back. And it's the back side. There's a road back there that they kind of use to move around and so forth and so on. And if you look at that, that's what's there really. And my video, I guess, and I looked at it over and over, and I said, man, maybe I just didn't do the gist of it. But that's where a lot of that Coco ride is going to be coming out, and the Avengers ride. And one of the places where I do disagree with Hey Bricky, because he says, oh, you can just reroute, and it's like you don't have a lot of places to reroute. Or he said just do a loop a couple of times. With 15,000 runners, you cannot do a loop a couple of times, and so it's a little bit more difficult. So that in itself can delay stuff through the building of it. But he goes on to talk about, which is something that I think is very, very viable. He's saying they're going to expand possibly to, and I wrote it down, the Eastern Transportation Center. That's where if you go to Disneyland and you're taking any of the buses, even if you're just walking, it's a front part of the security, not in the back where the hotels are, but it's a front side of the security. And so that area might end up being, an expansion to the park, or they're going to zone it differently. So now they can expand there. And if they do that, it's contingent on the fact that they're going to have to move it somewhere else, because obviously they're going to have to drop off somewhere else. And there's parking lots that they're looking in the back also. Anyways, to make a long story short, that place where we start and we finish is prime real estate for them to build a parking structure, and they can build a parking structure there, do everything to drop off people so they can walk to the front and so forth and so on. It's not as easy as that, because you think to yourself, there's still a little bit of a walk for people who are disabled, and so they're still going to have some kind of drop off or something to that effect. So it won't be easy. I believe they might do kind of a walkway or something, kind of like the transportation center at Disney World, but not as, not with Disney World. It's just so spread apart because they have so much stuff to do. So, and then the one that they brought up and people will talk about every once in a while, or I've heard a couple of people talk about, is the 28. And I don't think there's going to be much going on in Anaheim, but you just never know and stuff. So, with that said, that's why, I believe, and that's what I was talking to Peg Like Pete about yesterday. Said, I believe if they do find a valid place to start and finish, like maybe their cast member parking, and I always like wherever I'm going to. So I stay at the Hotel Lulu a lot, and there's a parking structure right behind it. I can actually see it. And if you watched one of my first videos when I was talking about the expansion with third park, I went back there and I was able to record. Actually, I was up on my whatever floor it was. I was able to record, and I could actually see that whole section is humongous. And so it could be a third park. I just don't think they would build it there unless they would have to get rid of a lot of those. They would have to put up walls, because the hotels, you would just see everything right there. And so it would be a little bit different and stuff. But that's a place that maybe we could start and finish. And like Hey Bricky said, and that's why he was trying to figure out what they're doing. And maybe this was an indication of what they're doing with the Disneyland Forward or the expansions, whatever they're going to be doing. And so, but on our part, we're looking at as for Run Disney. So what's going to happen? If they can find a place, easily, and there's not going to be a lot of construction, then I would say it's going to be a year. I think it's going to be closer to 3 to 5 years, for the simple reason that, we do have areas behind that, DCA that are going to be blocked off. And so that's going to put a big damper in that. We can go through downtown Disney, and we've done it before. I just don't see them doing it. I kind of, and people are going to complain no matter what. There's going to be people that are going to just say, man, they should have done this. They should have done this. They should have done this. And that's going to happen. But, they have to comply by certain rules that we don't even take into consideration sometimes. So, does anybody have any questions? I mean, again, I'm just thinking to myself, it's going to be 3 to 5 years when they build stuff. Most of the construction going on in DC, I'd be happy to run around Disneyland twice. That would be awesome. I agree. I love Disneyland. I love running through Toontown. Toontown is awesome. Just I could stay there and run around for a while. But it wouldn't be viable. And anybody who's done, especially the 5K, gosh, the character pictures are just so long. Of course, I was running with Peg Leg Pete last year, and we saw Peg Leg Pete there, so we had to stop for the picture. But yeah, that would be, that'd be a solution that I probably wouldn't be as viable as people would think. Because if you would have to come around, and all of a sudden you get into the how many times did I do it? Some people might cut, so forth and so on. I don't think Disney has cut so many things out. Like they used to verify our bibs, and then they kind of went back to it a little bit because of the problems that they had in January, but not a lot. They used to verify bibs if you finished a challenge. Now they don't even do that. It's kind of funky with that. So, anyways, any other questions that anybody has? Because I can move on and talk about something else if you have questions. ask me. I have a lot of stuff that I'm gonna announce later on. I do have goals for this year. Usually I just kind of run and record, and if you see me, I'm happy go lucky in the back, just recording and stuff. And whenever I feel like running, I run and stuff. But this year I said, you know what, I'm gonna get some goals, and I'm gonna, train for them, because usually my training just, is just running, and I don't really care about time or anything. I haven't. And if you watch the videos where I just had it with my medals, some of them had their, the times, and a couple of them were under 2 hours. And I was going like, wow, that's been a while. It's been a few years, over, 6, 7 years, where I used to actually, those were closer to about 8, 9 years where I used to go under 2 hours, and now I'm in the back. But I used to be very competitive. I used to be in the front and try to get out there and stuff. But no, bringing back to the point is that I want to do a few things this coming season, which again starts in September. So, oh, my Disneyland trip. Well, the 70th. And so if you guys don't know, the 70th anniversary officially kicks off on Friday. So this coming Friday, it's going to be there. I'm also excited to meet some of you, and I don't know, the people I'm going to meet are on the channel, but quite a few people have reached out to me. So I am going to meet with some people on Wednesday and Tuesday and Wednesday, and possibly Friday. And then I have a D23 friend. I have a friend of mine who I go with D23, so I'll be with him on Thursday. So I have a whole bunch of people that I'm going to be there with, and it should be fun. But I talked about this in the video, the last recorded video, is I do think that they're going to announce the princess theming pretty soon, and I more or less have an idea of what they're going to announce. But even when they tell me, I usually stay quiet. I do this for a few reasons. Number one, and the biggest reason, is going to be because a lot of times I've told something, and they tell me, please don't say anything, and I don't ever want to break that trust. So I sometimes I'll know something, but I don't want to say it. Sometimes I might try to hint it. But lately I'm also thinking to myself, you know what? I love being surprised. And it was funny. I was having conversation with somebody during Princess about this, and the person was like, man, I love knowing the for sure thing. And I said, no, I love being surprised. I love being surprised. When I'm running there and go like, wow, I didn't know that character was going to be out there and stuff. And to me, I would find it boring if I knew which characters were going to be out there. And a lot of people might disagree with me. And I know a lot of people disagree with me, because I see it on social media, like, what are the characters and stuff. And then you do see me when I'm walking to the run, and I'll already get information. People that get there early, they send me messages going like, these characters are going to be there, they're going to be there and stuff. Now, Disneyland runs, we only got 2 more left before the hiatus, which we don't know how long it's going to take, and they're not going to really say anything anytime soon. So we got this September, and then we got January of next year, and there's no characters, so you just remember that if you're going to do any of those. So, hey Jen, I don't have any questions, but thank you for your help with registration. Okay, seriously helpful. Yes, awesome. You're going to be there at Disneyland, so that's going to be awesome. I've been doing this for so long, and it's funny because I've never missed a registration. I'm not lying about that. I've never missed a registration. I've been able to get in every run. So I did this on at first just to try to help people. And I always give the disclaimer where I don't know what it is or why it is, but I actually I'm getting it. I get into all the runs, and so it's give us a hint. So let's see what I can do right now. But and what I've been given, I know is not exact, and so let's just say, okay. So for Princess, and let me finish off first, because I have this habit of just going everywhere and stuff like that. So anyways, so to finish off, I just wanted to help, and then I started, wow, people, more and more people started saying, thank you for this, and thank you for this. And I like to give back. Now, I really do mean this. I hope to God, every single person who ever tries to get into a Disney run will eventually be able to get into one. Those of us who have done it know they're so amazing. They give back. I just love it so much. It seems to grow every time I go, I get even more and more excited about this. Over 1,000 miles, live miles run, and I still get excited about going over there. And so, so I just live. Jen, this is my long way of saying I just like giving back and stuff. So, all right. Because I do basically know what is rumored to be out there, and so with the princess, let's just say they're not the same as last year, from what I have been told. But then I told that a couple of them are possibly going to be changing. One thing I did notice is that the challenge medal is always like Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White. So one of the really vintage characters. So I would. And I'm not saying that this is this or that, but I would always think to myself that for sure is a giveaway right there. So let me see what oh, the questions that yes, the questions yes, and then lately I've been able to record them since I did the Club Run Disney, so I'm able to, and that's one of the reasons. And I tell people, and share this information so that way you know what to do, so you can go in a little bit quicker. So Isadora, by the way, awesome name. I love that name. So thank you so much for your videos. Which of the race weekends is your favorite? Also, do you have a favorite distance? I'm going to say this. I don't have a favorite distance. I have a not favorite distance, which is the marathon. And it's not because of the interacting with people. It's because I'm getting older and I'm starting to feel it more. That's about it. As far as the weekends, it's funny because when it comes to it, you just think of the themings, and the themings, I love wine and dine. And if I had to pick a weekend that I could not give up, and it would be wine and dine because of the themings. But the experiences are really, really important. And I've had great experiences. I didn't start doing Princess until 3 years ago. And I'm already, actually, registration is coming up, but I'm already in the 5K, and I'll be able to get into the challenge real quick. So it'll be the 4th year in a row. And Princess is growing. I love the costumes. And anybody who knows me, I'm not going to dress up in any kind of costumes or anything like that. But I love the costumes. I think that the costumes are awesome. And man, especially the 5Ks and the 10Ks. I actually remember a couple of them. Somebody, the cones and caution runners, speed bumps ahead. I've seen some people in that. One of my favorites of all time is people had Blockbuster videos on them. And so back then you could do a little bit more. Now I understand, with the turning one, I still think that, for a 5K, it's fine. But they had Blockbuster videos with like the classic Beauty and the Beast. And so those were really, really cool. Then one of my all-time favorites too, I had a picture of my nephew who ran a couple of the Star Wars with me with dark helmet. So it was I think that's the name of it, for Spaceballs. It was really, really cool. So I'll be there. Yes. We're going to see Jolly Jonathan at Princess. So I'll say real quick how I came up with that name. So Jonathan, if you haven't met Jonathan, he is, and people have always asked me, they go like, is he as great as he is online? And I said, no, he's better. He is better. If you're not in a good mood, or you're even on the fence, you're going to walk away just thinking you can conquer the world after talking to Jonathan. He's just an amazing person. And when I was interacting with him one time, I remember I had this thought in my head was, oh, it's a jolly holiday with Jonathan. And so I just nicknamed him Jolly Jonathan. And he, it was, because he's always so jolly. It's just so fun to be around. So that's it. So, okay. So now I was going to go to the themings and any hints and stuff. So that's part of, what I'm going to say is, just remember that it's probably going to be a bigger name for the challenge. Smaller, newer, and by newer, I mean the last 10, 15 years, because there's really nothing new. Thanks, Jonathan. I just saw that. But I really wish, and I am not hinting on that one, but I do wish that they would actually get the newer characters. But I know that they haven't been as hits as they would have liked them to be. And so I would like to see those. And when I saw the names, the potential names and so forth and so on. Now, here goes a deal. I did get a little insight on Springtime Surprise. All I'm going to say is when you guys see at least one of the characters, one of the on the medal, And I wish to God I wasn't told. It was a message to me, and so I read it, and I was like, "Darn it! I wish I could take that back and stuff because I would have loved to be as surprised." All I'm going to tell you is one of the characters that I saw on there. I was sitting there going like, "Okay, man, this is awesome." I yes, I'll even if it was just for a marathon, I would do it just for this character on the medal. So that's all I'm going to say about that, and that's going to be Springtime Surprise, which um we got a couple months, a little over, yeah, about a couple months before we get to registration on that one, and we got a little over a month for Princess, and then, but again, I think that, and it always seems to be when I go on vacation, where I go somewhere, then that's when something drops. And so I actually don't. I would love for it to drop next week because I'll be there, and if the characters are represented in the park, Disneyland is going to be a little bit more difficult. I think most of these characters are represented more at Disney World, but I would love to walk around and just record there and give my reaction there. But that's that. So, do we have any other questions? And then I'll go into the fundraising because I think that's an area where it's a little touchy. A lot of people, you know, I got it. Last night when I was thinking about this, I go, man, I really wish people would go into fundraising the way that a lot of people I know go into it. I think a lot of people just think to themselves, which I know a lot of people, they just say, "I just want to get a bib. I'm not, I'll get a bib no matter what, whatever." And so they kind of forget that they have to fundraise, and some people just they 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 just put it out there, like they put it on. I see that on social media all the time, where they just put it out there and that's it. Um, so, any other questions before I move on to that? So, I'll give it a few. Now, what I did do, and this is my first time doing it, so I've kind of said, because I just wasn't, I didn't want to get overwhelmed with questions and then miss somebody's question. So I put in there like I think every 10 seconds it'll come up, and so that's it. But what's it called? But yeah, as of now, that I just see the last people. It's been a while, so if no other question, I will move on, and then I'll come back to questions again. So, when it comes to charities, I really do believe this. When I decided to run for a charity, I reached out to quite a few of them, and I do not have any affiliations. So, hey, how you doing? From Vero Beach. Oh, that's awesome. So, I love the beach. So, anyway, so when I didn't have any affiliations, I didn't have anybody who had any of these illnesses, or whatever disabilities, whatever it is. So I reached out to them, and when I finally reached one of them, I asked for a simple thing. I said, I want to, if I'm going to do this, because I was going to record about this, I want to be completely, I want to see the whole thing. I want to meet people who have this. I want to meet the families. And so when you do this, it just, it amplifies it by 1,000. It just amplifies it. So now you have more passion for what you're doing, and so whenever you're out there and you start asking, now you have a little bit more. And if you notice, like, look at the people who their loved ones, their family members, either being elderly, or their, God bless, their children, they have something, that all of a sudden you see them when they're talking, they're so passionate about what they say. And I noticed that, whenever I've seen people, and there's a friend of mine up in Austin, and whenever he does fundraising, I mean, the passion just comes through, that you just sit there going like, yeah, okay, I'm giving. And so when the rest of them just kind of do, yeah, can you just donate whatever and stuff, and it's just kind of like there. So I always think to myself, man, just have some passion, do something, give back. Because people, I think, I know I do. You want to give, and no matter what it is, whether it be money, time, just listening to somebody, whatever it is. But I think people want to do that, but it shows with the passion. So that's the first thing I would say. Whenever you're going to do this, please, 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 make sure that you go with a charity that um that you're passionate about, that uh, that you're passionate about. So when you do try to fundraise, it's going to come out. I've been lucky with my fundraising where I was able to get wherever I wanted to, it's funny, but I do have this idea, and those of you who saw the video, my last video, I just started with this talk, but I've had this video for a while. I've talked to quite a few people about it and stuff. I'm going to the closing of Muppet Courtyard, which is June the 7th, and my plan is to be there all day. And so what I was going to do is I was going to fundraise for myself, and I wanted to do it as kind of like, hey, I'm going to do some stuff for you guys, and then you guys donate money to the charity that I'm representing, so that way you guys get something in return. So shout outs and stuff, recording. So that's it. So hi Maria, how you doing? So I wanted to do that. So raising money for Autism Speaks. That's a great charity. So my son is on the spectrum. I credit so for the full marathon. Okay. There's so many great charities out there, and what gets lost in translation is the families. And so what's it called? It's something that okay. So now going back to what I'm going to do, I'm going to try to help people out, because not only do I want to raise money for mine, which is Duchenne's muscular dystrophy, and I've gotten to know the SAPs. I got permission from Amber to mention them, Amber Sap and her son Garrett, who I've gotten to know. I've had the pleasure and the honor of going to Disney World with them, to getting on rides with them and stuff. And one of the things that I got to see is how it affects the family. And it is humbling. It's a very humbling experience. And again, it helps me, kind of to relay the message, so that the passion comes through, and then you do that, you do raise funds. So going back to what I'm going to do. So one of the things I wanted to do was, because I am a Muppets fan, and I regret that I don't have much Muppet stuff, but I'm going to try to see if I can stock up on some Muppet stuff. And although the Muppet Courtyard and the Muppet Vision 3D is closing, and Pizza Rizzo is closing, they are going to open up. Aerosmith is going to become a Muppet Roller Coaster. So that's going to start later on this year, and so forth. But what I want to do is I wanted to, record on and off throughout the day. Now, I can't record all the way through, but I wanted to go live at the very end. And I'm going to say this now. And I said in the video, it's going to be a surprise, but you guys who are on the channel here are going to be able to hear it for the first time. So my hope is to get on the ride at least 15 times, maybe more, do some kind of, and I'm going to post it out there, some kind of fundraiser. If you guys want to, like Veronica, if you want to, tag along and say, hey, send them to my page and stuff, and then put your link, so your fundraiser. And what you're going to say is, anybody who wants a shout out for a birthday call or something like that for $5, $10 and stuff, and just make sure that they message me, and please follow up if I haven't done it, and I'll go live on Facebook, or I'll on one of the videos that I have, I'll message, and so do something, record Miss Piggy in the fountain. I think that'd be a real cool one right there. And eating at Pizza Rizzo, and maybe eating something that somebody wants to watch or something like that. So, but I wanted to help out. So if you guys want to piggyback on mine, and so you guys are more than welcome to do that. And yes, so I'm getting to the nitty gritty. So I wanted to be there all day long. I already checked. It's rope drop is at 8:30, because I'm going to be staying on property, and then it closes at 9. So it's going to be 12 hours, and the goal is to stay there all 12 hours, and preferably most of the time is going to be at Muppet Courtyard at the very end. But I'm going to be, and I know I'm not the only one, so there's going to be quite a few people. I do have a couple people that I know, some cast members there, so I'm going to try to see if we can make it work with about 10, 15 people. We're going to try to get into the last showing of Muppet Vision 3D. And as we walk out, I wanted to go, and this is one of the tests here on Facebook. I'm sorry, YouTube Live. This is my first YouTube Live. Is sing the Rainbow Connection, and so while we're doing that, so I wanted to again use it as a fundraiser and so forth and so on. And I love that song. I remember being in 6th grade, and they would play the album, and I remember. And people don't know this, but Kermit the Frog actually made American Top 40. So Casey Kasem actually put him up there, because I know he I think the song went up to like in the 20s. I don't think it got much further than that, but still, that's a lot from Kermit the Frog. Um, so I'm getting another question right here. Do you have any questions about that? Because that's a lot of information in really a really short period of time. Does anybody have any ideas that they would like to add to that? So uh, about pre-order for 2026 Disneyland. If you pre-order, you enter separate section to pick up the merch. The other merch, you still have to join the virtual queue. Okay, so Disneyland is a little bit different because yeah, Disney World, you can go in and it's in the same area. And from my understanding is because I've never pre-ordered anything, so I've always gone in the what's it called? Well, now I'm club, so I can get to go early, but I always just went through the regular queue. I never pre-ordered everything. So thank you very much, by the way. Nate is saying here, I emailed Run Disney about pre-orders for the Disneyland, and if you do, you still have to go the same one. So you still have to join the virtual queue, which kind of makes sense because the pre-order is a little bit different in a little different section that Disneyland. And I love the Disneyland because everything is right there. Where at Disney World, you got to go to the three separate places. So, and I wish, yeah. Yeah, things are going to change, and that's a great point. Veronica said, "I wish Muppet Vision and Rivers of America weren't going away. They're going to go away, and the ones in California are going to stay at least for a while longer if they don't decide to change that. At least, well, the Rivers of America over there, so the Mark Twain and the where they have the canoes and stuff. So, but Muppet Vision was the last thing that Jim Henson did, so that's why a lot of people are not liking that. So that's one of the things that's yeah. And I just love the Muppets. I used to watch the Muppet Show and stuff. So the matter of fact, that's the way I got to know the cast members. I was talking to them about the Muppet Show, and they came and they bring me a free cupcake, which I thought that was really really cool about them. So now I go over there and I chit chat with them. And so I told her I was going to be there. I'm actually doing the after hours party at June the 4th. I'm going to go and try to talk to them. So that's it. So um, when do you plan on recommend the hotel bookings and plans in order for? So I get this right. When do you recommend getting hotel bookings? Okay, and plans in order for the 26 half. You can do it right now. I already have mine at Hotel Lulu. Now, Hotel Lulu, which is part of Best Western, which is it's not the greatest, but it's not bad at all. They take reservations right now, but you don't have to pay until you get there. So there's always you can always cancel. I think it's a week in advance, so you can get several. Just remember that you have it, but I know people who have done this. They get a couple of reservations, and then as they get closer, they just check the prices to make sure that they get the best price, and then you can cancel one of them. But you can get it right now. As a matter of fact, I was just talking to Peg like Pete yesterday, and because he's going and I told him, you do realize that you don't have to pay until you get there. And he goes, well, I might as well. I got to do it today then. So you do that. But I already have mine at Hotel Lulu. If you go straight to on their site, you can get that reservation already. So yes, yes, I'll see you guys on the 7th. I'm going to see a few people on the 7th, and anybody is invited. So this is not hey, only certain people can come. Anybody is invited. So if you guys just reach out to me June 7th, I'm going to be around Muppet Courtyard. So you're going to be very easy to find me. I'm just going to be around there June the 7th. So for Dopey 2026, can you disclose what resort you're planning on staying? And had a great time. Yeah, yes, that's true. That's awesome. Yes. Well, and it was only the first couple of days because I actually got sick. But music, I'm staying again at music. And it's up to the people. But I already know the people there at music, so I already let them know, and they say, and when I get there, they know what I need, what I want, and stuff like that. So I get, and I'm not, no, I don't get upgraded to like a room that or a suite or anything like that. But I always, they know how to take care of me and love them to death. That they're awesome, and so do whatever is comfortable with for you. When it comes to resorts, do whatever is comfortable, and there's quite a few things that are comfortable. Number one is going to be the price. If you spend way too much, and then that's not, nothing that, that's up to you. You want to spend whatever you want to spend, but I would always have a budget, and then after that, you would sit there and go, okay, these ones fit my budget. Now, I always, and I haven't done a video on, and that would be a great idea, the hotels, because you can stay off property and it's going to be $50 less, but that off property hotel is going to have resort fees, parking fees, and so forth, and that $50 is going to come right off. So even if it's a $10, $15 off, at least, because you know that if you're going to be staying on Disney property, you're going to be picked up and so forth. But I cannot and will not tell you you have to stay here. You have to, because that's none of my business. I don't like doing that. I can give suggestions, and so I like the All Stars because they're pretty easy. I've never had an issue there during the runs, except for one. I remember when All Star Sports opened up. That was a funky one. So All Star Sports had just opened up when they opened up the Springtime Surprise a few years back. It was the last one to open up before, when the pandemic opened up, and they weren't ready. So what ended up happening is I had to go to 4 rooms at night. So it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. So I had them switch me over. They switched me over to movies. And so that was funny. But yeah, they were not ready. So the water pipes were breaking and everything. So it wasn't fun. So what are some ideas you have for fundraising when you don't have a presence on social media? Carrie, that is an excellent, excellent question. So you could reach out to friends via, email and so forth and so on. That might be a way that you can get it. I always think that probably the one that's become a little bit harder, but if you can get in, you might even get everything covered, is corporate donations. And I still remember one of the first times I did this, and this was over 10 years ago. I went in and I no, this was my first time ever fundraising. I remember this. I'm sorry. And it was for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And it was $1,000. I still remember I was going like, oh, how am I going to raise this and stuff? I thought I was way over my head and stuff. So I wrote to every single company that I could to get whatever I could. And so I emailed everybody, wrote out to everybody and everything like that. So 2 things happened. Number one is I got a gift card, and I'm trying to remember who I got the gift card from. It was one of those like AutoZone or something like that. And it was like $25 gift card that they donated. And the San Antonio Spurs gave me 2 tickets. No, they were not bad tickets and they were not great tickets. They were like in the middle and so forth and so on. Then the next step was I was able to get a hold of Walmart, and Walmart, um, I don't think they do this as much anymore, but they used to. And so what I'm trying to say or the way I can help with this one is maybe there's another company that'll do something like this. But what they allowed me to do was go up there and basically hold a raffle, and it was over the weekend. And then what Walmart did was they doubled whatever you got up to $500. Well, I got like $540, so they doubled it. So they gave me a check for $1,000 or whatever it was. So that covered my fundraising. But and I think that there's a lot more restrictions now that Walmart has. But you might have a connection at big company, or any big company, Target, Walmart, if you have your local grocery store. Nowadays, I think that the local grocery stores that are not big chains might be able to help you a little bit more with donations, but they might be able to give you a gift card. And if you get a gift card, you could sit there and say, it's let's say it's a $25 gift card. You can say $5 and you get a $25 gift card, minimum of $100. So that's, so you get, if it's $5 per person, that's what, off the top of my head, that'd be 20 people and I would be one of the people that say $5. I'll give $5, because what's it called to get a $25 gift card. And of course, if you can get even bigger, like if you get $100 gift card, you can say, $10, $15, $20, whatever it is. And again, you get a little bit more, but just try different things. What's it called at work? That's another one. At work, I've seen people that they come up on Friday and they make cupcakes and they charge a couple of dollars for each one, and then they say it's for donations, and you're giving something in return, something that they're going to buy anyway. So it's something that is beneficial for both sides. So, and just I guess and now that I'm thinking, I go think of in terms that it's going to it could be beneficial for both sides. Like again, a donation for a chance to win or whatever. I graduated from St. Mary's University, and every year I get, but they're very expensive. I think the tickets are like $100, but you get like a $5,000 gift card or something like that. Like that. So yeah, that's something I want to do. But hope that helps, Carrie. If not, if you have an idea, reach out to me and then just let me know. And so maybe, I could help out a little bit more. So that's it. So any other questions? I know I went over a lot real quick. We covered Disneyland, hotels, charities, Muppets that are closing and stuff. Yes, I'm sad that the Muppets are closing, but and this is my first time doing this because I'm under the understanding that there might be other platforms that I can get on. It's still going to be on YouTube, but it'd be another program, I should say, that'll allow me to bring in, because if you notice, I'm just talking here, but that could bring in some pages, so I can bring in pages and I can show you, like from the computer, other ones and stuff. But this is just the first one, and I really wanted to do this to test to see if I can go live the last day, and especially the evening of when Muppet Vision 3D closes, because I was there. I was watching when they closed It's Tough to Be a Bug. I was actually there when they closed Splash Mountain. I was there. So, but little, I couldn't get out there for It's Tough to Be a Bug, but I would have loved to. I was there but that was that Springtime Surprise. That was like a week before, 2 weeks before. So I got to get on it the last time there. So, this year to those who need it, but the fundraising seems intimidating. Thanks for some great, yeah. So don't, and this is more of a life lesson. The more you're intimidated, the more you're going to be like crippled by fear. What I've learned as I've gotten older, because I understand that completely, is that run towards it. Just do what you can. And if it doesn't work out, never look at it as a failure. Look at it as an experience. That didn't work out. Let me try the next thing. And then you just keep going and you keep going and you keep going. And don't care. I don't care what people say about, me behind, like, oh man, you're dumb for doing it. That's their opinion. I just keep going. Do whatever it is. And I firmly believe that when you allow your passion to come out, you will open a lot of people's eyes. You're going to be moving people, and that's a great thing. So, great question. And I actually thought about making a video about this. Veronica just asked, do you think Disney Paris, or the Run Disney Paris, will come? So this is interesting, because with the opening of the Dubai one, or the announcement that they're going to build one in Dubai, people were already speculating about, will they do a Run Disney there? Well, from what I understand, the Dubai one is kind of like the one in the Asian countries, the two in China and the one in Tokyo. None of those are owned by Disney directly. So they do have runs. The ones in China, I know, I looked it up. They have runs there, but they're mainly, I think the longest one over there is 10K, and they're mainly like 3Ks, 5Ks. I think they even have 1Ks there. Tokyo doesn't have any runs from what I could see. Dubai, I'm not even going to go through that, because that's going to be way, way far in advance, far in the future. I do believe that Disneyland Paris, especially now that they're finally completing the projects that they would have been working on since like the pandemic and everything, are finally coming. They're coming to life and everything. I'm going to guess that by 2027 they'll be back. I do think that by 2027 they'll be back. But I don't know. They're very hard at giving announcements, and they're very funny about giving announcements when it comes to where they come back. Now, I was lucky enough. I was at D23 when they announced that the Disneyland runs were coming back, which I kind of already knew. I just didn't know what year. They had given us a couple of years, so I saw that. So, Hey, David, what's going on? Yes, I remember you. So yeah, and that's a fun part about running in the back and stuff. And now if people will ask, do you recommend it? Do you recommend it's up to you. But what happens is you have to feel comfortable with your pace. You feel comfortable with what you can do. So I know I can go faster than the 16-minute pace. So I like to be back there, and it gives me kind of a bird's eye view of what's going on for recording, for potentially helping people out. I get to see a lot more than I even talk about, and anybody who's been back there knows the same thing. I know a couple people ran with me like afterward, going like, um, they would sit there going like, "Man, I didn't know all this happened back here," and it's like, yeah, it does. And after a while, yeah, but I love it. It's there's good and bad, and so that's it. So, David is in for Dopey and Disneyland Half Marathon. Yes, so I'll see you at both. So we will see you at both, and so. So any other questions? I'm about to start wrapping. I said 30 to 60 minutes, but you know what? I'll stay a little longer if you guys have any questions. So we're at the 45-minute mark, so we can continue going but just let me know. Please ask questions. I don't mind questions. A lot of people, I've gotten people message me on the side saying I was scared to ask, and I would sit there going like, no, don't ever be afraid to ask. And so one of the things that I've learned is that one of the things about doing over 1,000 miles for over 17 years or getting on to 17 years is experience. And so I when I first walked in there, I didn't know what to do. And then they've changed things on us, and so I've learned that they may change things on us, and people get intimidated. Some people had actually talked about being intimidated about certain things, but once you experience it and you learn how to just persevere, after a while you're going to be okay and stuff. So please feel free to ask me questions, even if it's not here. On social media, of course, on Facebook, I'm Manny Runs Disney. On Instagram, I'm Manny Runs Disney, and I do have the Facebook Run in Ears page. I kind of try to keep I keep that one professional, so that when I post about anything having to do with Run Disney, but I still post on my site, on my personal site, just because it gets a little bit more of a reach. So that's that. So, oh yeah. So that's a interesting point. So enjoyed power walking with the balloon ladies. The balloon ladies are awesome. Now, I am not that good. I can jog, but it's funny because when I'm back there, everybody says, "Do you run the whole time, or do you walk the whole time?" And I said, "No, I would, I would tire out." They are so good at what they do, and you're walking with them, and after a while, I said, "Okay, I'm gonna have to jog a little bit because," I feel more comfortable jogging. Like I feel like I'm just exerting a lot of energy, power walking and stuff. But they're amazing. Um, if you ever get a chance to meet them. Now, there are different balloon ladies at Disney World and at Disneyland. So I have yet to meet. Well, I've met them, but very briefly at Disneyland. At Disney World, they're actually my personal friends. So, uh, yes, Maria, that's a great question because a lot of people have a lot of misconceptions. Yes, they do get medals. They can get swept. That's another misconception. I've never been there when they've gotten swept because I didn't stay with them. But I do know personally one, and I won't mention who, but got swept at last year's, not this past year, but the year before's marathon. They had an injury and they got swept. And I remember her telling me she popped a balloon and she got into the bus and she felt shamed. And I said, "There's nothing to feel shame about. That's part of the experience, and it's going to happen that happens." And so that's it. So balloon ladies cannot go to the restroom either. I don't think I've ever seen them go to the restroom. They cannot stop. And another thing is when people write on there, I want to be a balloon guy and stuff. Well, there is an unofficial balloon guy, Dennis, and Dennis is probably one of the most awesome people you will ever meet. He is just so fantastic, so great. He because I'm recording, so a lot of times I don't get to talk to people, but I'll stop recording and encourage them, and then I'll move on and stuff. But Dennis comes over and he takes over, and I have seen him. um, have so many people cross the finish line. It's amazing. So, uh, yep. So Carrie just answered yes, they do get the medal. So, I ran with the Pacers this past 10 miler. Okay, really enjoyed it. Not sure if I can do it for the full in January. Training is on. Yeah, the and they're the Jeff Galloway trainers. They're run by Chris Twiggs, who is an awesome person. I've gotten to know him a little bit. I really want to get to know him more because he's just one of those amazing people. But they're run by him. He actually messages a lot of us and goes, "What do you think?" and stuff. And so, and I think that the Pacers are really, really cool. I know quite a few of the Pacers. They're all great people. So, what's your thought on virtual runs? Are they worth it? Do you ever see Run Disney expanding back into into evening races? Okay. Thank you for the question, Dan. My thoughts on virtual runs are this. I don't do them because they're not. I am not as creative as some people are to make it into a Disney run. Now, if I ever did one, I would do it at Disney. I would like the summer series. I would go there and I would use it, and I would use it as a training run. I think is it worth it? I think that's up to the runner. And I have seen, and this is what there's amazing people out there. And I remember seeing a video, it was during the pandemic because they made some of the runs virtual. And I remember what they did. It was amazing. So this person went and it was like, I want to say it's a 5K or 10K or something. It was one of the 5 or 10Ks. And what they did was they had, family. So they got dolls and they posted them at certain places and they had the miles out there and they recorded it and they would walk up and they would take character pictures. And then they had their daughter, with their son and daughter, the young ones would have like a little table set up with water stations. It was so cool. And then they had a big banner that said finish and Disney and stuff. I thought it was amazing. I thought it was really, really cool. I'm not that creative. But when you see this, you go like, man, I want to do a virtual run like that. That is just so cool. And you're just amazed with what people can do. So I think that if you do that, it's worth it. If you're just going to get it to get the medals, that's on you, or just, do a regular run. That's on you. But I really do think that if you're going to do something like that, go at least to Disney, make a little bit something out of it. Even if you look foolish, hey, that's okay. I think that's really, really cool. So, all right. And the last question, because I know I said, do I think they're gonna come back in the evenings? Is that what I said? Do you think they're Disney expanding back to the evening races? I don't think so. I remember being there for the very first Wine and Dine. I think that the run that I was not there for when the monsoon hit, or the really, and I always say monsoon, but it wasn't it was just really, really bad weather hit. They were scrambling to get people on the bus. I remember hearing the story and get them out of there before it was any danger. When it's lit, it's going to be a lot better when it's daylight and stuff. And so I just don't see them. Maybe like a springtime surprise, like they did the Adventure Everest, something like that. I could see them, but I don't think. I don't think so. So Pacers save racers. And that's a good one. I just put that on the race and give it to Chris. He would love that. And so great guy. But I think that Pacers, I've heard this many, many times that there's people that were about to quit and everything. They found a pace group that they felt comfortable with, and then they went on. That, hey, that's awesome. That's one of the reasons that they're there. So, and so what's going on? What's going on, Joe? So from Tennessee, I always wanted to run Nashville. One of these days, I might go over there and run Nashville. So, what's going on, Ian? We'll see you guys in gosh, less than a month now. So, 4 weeks. So Carrie's, she just shared a story. My friend did virtual half with her kids and her husband. Set up character meets. There you go. With the kids constantly changing costumes, and their friends showed up with their pet. See, this is what I love, and this is what I always say. If you do something like that, I think yes, for sure, Dan. That something like that to me would be worth it. As a matter of fact, I live in San Antonio, Texas. So if there was a group who did this, I would join. I would so happily join to do this. I think that would be great. So started running 2 years ago now, 50. You're still very young. I have 8 medals, and my life has changed for the better. Yes. Uh, the one thing about Run Disney that people, ask me what it's done, and so I've gotten to know so many people over the years, and now a lot of them are some of my best friends, and so it's just amazing, and one of the things I try to do personally is when I see, especially posts on social media. So somebody have said and not on social media. Sometimes it's not a bad thing, and so you'll understand because people will post some really, really nasty negative things, and I want to focus on the word negative. And so, and I try to tell people, I said, you just don't know what people are going through. So, and if one of the things that I love about Run Disney, especially running in the back, I got to see Heather, one of the balloon ladies, who is a personal friend of mine, and she is just amazing. And it was at the 10 miler, and somebody was lagging behind. They weren't going to make it. And I still remember her going, she said, "I'm not giving up on you, sister." She ran back, grabbed her, and pulled her. And it was about a mile to go or so. And she would not let her quit. She did not let her quit. She took her in. And I mean, this is the amazing things that you see. And then I remember because they kind of had to go to the side, and so I went over there and I was chit chatting with her, and she was guys, they were and she's crying and everything. These are the amazing things, and it's amazing when you see people who haven't didn't think they could do it, and then they do it. And what's even more amazing than that is when you think about it, somebody took the time to make the world better by helping these people out. It's just amazing. So Disney Pacers. I'm going to just finish up here. So Disney Pacers are the worst. I was in the last corral and I ran 4-hour marathon. All the runners, walkers, everywhere. Yeah. So I see that point. If you're if you're starting in the back and you're a faster runner, it is so darn hard to get up there. What I've done is I've kind of changed my expectations, and I know when to go and when to not go. But I could easily see that point. That is something people will. And one of the things that I have talked to Chris about is that the pacer groups have becoming bigger and bigger. So one of the things is they are more spread out, or they I shouldn't say it. They get more congested, and in certain areas they basically clog up the area. So that's where on your left and a real strict voice or real deep voice, they people will usually move. I've done it before, and if you watch my videos, yeah. So I see your point, and so and I hope to God that you have better experiences as time goes on. So, but I do see that point. So, Joe, silly question, but what's your favorite food? My dad is a big fan, and I want to do marathon themed birthday party and each food named after a runner, for example, Manny Burger. I do like burgers, that is true, but I'm more of a chicken wing guy. So I love chicken wings. Now, before a run, I do like salmon. I do like salmon and vegetables. For some reason, other because they have the omega-3 fatty acids, and it almost feels like I got better blood flow, and so I like those. So, Joe, I hope that answers your question. But my favorite food, I have to say, and I don't eat them a lot because, again, I would be worse off if I am, is chicken wings. And I love. As a matter of fact, I was just looking right before I went on live. I was looking at the Epic Universe, a new restaurant that just opened up, and they have chicken wings. And I was going like, darn it, and stuff. And they actually have some pretty good chicken wings at Stella Nova. I ate at the restaurant there when I was just there. So that's it. Um, yeah. So they were saying, yeah. So yeah, the Pacers are great. I think that they try to do as best a job that they can with what they have. And if you notice, they stay to where they're supposed to, but then people clog up. And I have seen some Pacers screaming, saying, "Hey guys, move over this way" and stuff. And that's what I told Chris. You guys got to do a better job of making sure that your Pacers are there. Overall, I think the Pacers are a great thing, but they're a work in progress. They do need to do that, and then they do change them every once in a while. So there's some newer people. So um, yo, gosh, those spicy chicken wings at the Muppet, those were actually frozen wings. I got to see them microwaving them in the back and stuff. Those were not the best wings, and I love chicken wings, so it's hard for me to say bad chicken wings and stuff like that. But you, gosh, those were those were not the best chicken wings. Actually, the first time I ate on them a few years ago. This last year I went was not bad. They weren't great, but they weren't bad. So uh, nice, David. That is so super cool. 70th birthday, man. You're young, man. And I have an 81-year-old dad who's still a little active, but I wish he would be a little bit more active. So, um, talking, would I think Universal will have races? I would love to see Universal have races, but I think it's going to be a little bit for them, and I think they were waiting for Epic, and I think they're still going to wait a little bit. But again, give it another year or two, probably two, and maybe. But now they have areas, so it kind of be like Disneyland because they did have like was it a 5K, and I think maybe even a 10K, and you could run inside the parks, and so that was fine. Now you can run a couple of miles and go into Epic. But if you notice, and I said this a little bit on when I was filming there, you probably will not be able to go into any lands. That's the hard part about it. I can see Isle of Burke, maybe Dark Universe, but the other ones, for sure, you can't go in Mario Brothers because you got an escalator going up, and so that's it. So maybe an entrance and exit, but that would be an interesting one. I would go, so I would be there. So, alrighty. So we've reached an hour. So, anybody, I'm going to give 5 more minutes. Anybody have any quick questions and stuff? But again, please feel free to ask any questions. If I didn't, if you feel like, you want to ask me on social media, just reach out to me. You guys are more than welcome to. Again, I'd like to think that I'm very approachable, and this is one of the reasons I'm doing this, because I sometimes feel bad. And I always tell people this, and you guys have heard me say this, whenever I'm like looking at the video and I do the comment, you're gonna see me do this and go like this and type, but you don't get to see it. So you just get to see what I type. And so now you kind of get to see my reaction, which is really, really cool. And I also feel bad because sometimes we'll be there and I get a comment, something like, oh, I said hi and you didn't hear me. You must, and I feel bad. I really do feel very bad. I go like, darn it, why didn't I hear them? I think that. So I thought to myself, okay, we'll do something like this, so that way everybody can interact, and then hopefully somewhere down the line I'm going to learn more and I can do more of this. And so thank you, I appreciate that. So yeah, I always tell people this, I'm human just like everybody else. So yes, I'll be there marathon weekend. So real quick, and I'll finish it on this. So I actually used to be a pro wrestler. And so yes, I'm probably the only person in history that did a pro wrestling match against a WWE wrestler and has run a marathon. So because yeah, you don't see that very often. And so I learned when I was there, because I got to meet a lot of the people who are on TV and everything, that they were just human. And after a while, I wasn't. And somebody had asked earlier about being intimidated. Well, I'm no longer intimidated. Like whenever I see them, I go like, oh, they're just human, just like everybody else. And a lot of them, and I'm not, and I don't know any of the newer ones, but like the older wrestlers were very nice behind the scenes. I'd never had an issue. So I was, and so I retired after 2 years because it hurts. It hurts. Will you host up a meetup for Halloween? This is one of the reasons I'm having this. So now to give me some ideas, possibly that would be a great idea. I'm actually going to get there the Tuesday before for Oogie Boogie. So that's my plans right now. So yeah, but yeah, everybody's going to get there starting Thursday or Friday. So the most, the best times to meet up are going to be probably Friday or Sunday after the runs. I don't mind meeting up Sunday after the runs. It depends on how hot it was, because this past time it was so darn hot. And so because we can take medal pictures, and I think that would be a great thing to do. So see you at Disneyland. If you host a meetup. Okay, that sounds. Hey, what's going on? How you guys doing? Yes, I remember you guys. So and I remember meeting you guys there. So yes. So yeah, so you're giving me an idea about a meetup, maybe during Halloween, maybe after the run, a few hours, so everybody can go and rest, eat something, and maybe in the afternoon. I like going and taking medal pictures. If you haven't seen my what's it called, the Facebook page and the Running Years page, I go and I post all the pictures with the medals. And you see me walking around. Oh, I'll go with this one. So loved wrestling. I saw so many matches in my yep, Andre. Yes, I never got to meet Andre, but I understood he was very tall, and so Roddy Piper. Oh yeah, I loved Roddy Piper too. So, um, but because the medals for Springtime Surprise, there was Baymax, and then there was the Lasty Girl. So I thought about taking the medals this coming week and taking some pictures there too, but it's still going to be off because we didn't run them there. So, how do you combat the heat during marathon? I know SoCal is hot year round. So, and do you mean the marathon itself or the runs? Is you really need to Oh, th- I'll get to that point. The last question that you have, Jay Grace there and stuff. So, um, combating the heat, slow your pace down. This is the best thing that I can do, and I am going to post videos more about my training this year, this summer than I did before. A lot of people have been asking me about these, and the reason I'm going to do more and more videos about the training is so that you guys and I always say this video, this channel is about you guys, and it really is. But I figured, and I never want to make it about me. So, but I thought to myself, if I can indirectly make it about me with my training, so it gives you guys ideas, then that'll be beneficial for you guys too. So with the heat, you just got to train because most people will train in the heat, and so you just got to learn where to slow down your pace. You got to learn to everybody what I noticed because I'm a certified running coach, and so a lot of people will ask me, where should I do this? When should I do this? And I say, I don't know. I can't feel your body. I can just suggest, and you're going to have to be the one that makes some mental notes. And when you're out there, you can figure out, no, I need to slow down. And so I know exactly when I need to, and I shouldn't say that. Sometimes I mess up too, but on the most part, I know when I'm supposed to be slowing down, when I can speed up and be okay still and stuff. I've been lucky because last year when it got hot and a lot of people were like falling and literally falling, and stuff, I was fine. And if you watch my videos, I'm fine. And I was feeling so bad because I would be seeing people just stopping, slowing down, stopping, sitting down, getting into the shuttles, being swept and stuff. It just was really, really hard to watch, but I know my body. And so that's the biggest thing that I can tell you is learn your body. Every every little bit of work is done when you're training. Okay. So let me read these before. I hope that answers your question. I know that's kind of vague, but again, as time goes by, I'm gonna get videos that'll kind of be more and more exact. And so yeah, I'll be there at Wine and Dine. So I'm a perfect for the challenge. So I plan on being there. So post the videos of your matches. I think I still have pictures. I never recorded my matches. 2000 and 2001, 2001 and 2002. I'm sorry, was when I was there, and I never recorded them. I can actually call a friend of mine to see if he has them and go from there. So, um, okay, 4 or 5K. Best way to contact me, social media. Manny Runs Disney. Just friend me on just look for me, make friends, and then just make sure you message me. Make sure that you let me know you're from here because I do get crazies, and so by crazies I mean they're scammers who like to say, "Hey, yeah, we're what's it called? Yeah, they say, oh yeah, we we love you, whatever, and stuff like that, and then you realize that it's an 18, or it says an 18-year-old girl. No, I'm not doing any of that stuff, and so that's it. So can't wait to see videos of training for the half marathon. This will be my first time attempting to do run, so it's going to be interesting. Again, what the best advice I'm going to give to you guys: know who you are and what you can do, and do this all during training. Do not do it. You can do it during a race weekend, but by my opinion, you should know already. But you can't surprise yourself. So more videos along the line, long miles training coming up for dopey training. Yeah, so that I'm gonna try to do that. So yeah, some of you guys met each other, so that's it. So, but that's it. Any other questions? I went a little bit over, but again, I love interacting with you guys. I love chit chatting with you guys. I love getting on rides with you guys. I know that at Disneyland. I got rides before we went to the expo with some people. Again, I have friends of mine. One of my favorites is, oh gosh, during Springtime Surprise, yeah, I was with what they call themselves the Villains Club, which they're not villains, but they call themselves the Villains Club. Is the Dead Last Starters, and they were at a meetup. I went over there with them, and we were right by. We were at the Brown Derby, and we all went and it happened to be 21 of us. And we went and we got on the Tower of Terror. Guess what? So we're on the Tower of Terror, and it's got 21 seats. It was just perfect, and I loved doing that. So. Do a lot of local races to see how you handle it. That's a great point right there, David. Yes, that's exactly right. And you know what? Don't be afraid if it's going to be hot, especially. I have a friend of mine that I train with sometimes, and she's always like, I'm going to train hard in the hottest weather, so that way when it's not as hot, I'll be in a better place, and then when I'm cool, and she can just run, and that could be it. So yeah, just don't take, but also don't, if you see how you feel. I always say this: when you feel a sharp pain, you feel your heart rate elevated to where it's harder to breathe, that kind of stuff. No, it's not even worth taking the chance. Just make that's when you slow down, stop, whatever it is. But make sure, the number one thing is, if you're not here, you can't run. So you make sure that you are safe. And so please, please, please stay safe. That's going to be the main thing. And if ever I'm around you, you'll see me going, "Are you okay? Are you? Let's rest a little bit." I've been known to, when I see people that are not in very good shape, and I can tell, I run up to a medical person and say, "Please, uh, look at them, and maybe even get them off the course, depending on how bad they are." Uh, do you need an even better than 2.5 hour marathon proof of time for doping? No, I believe it's only 2.5, and so that's it. Half marathon. And my suggestion is, it depends on the person also. But if you notice, I don't really think about my proof of time. I don't put it in there, so I don't care where they place me. It doesn't bother me. But I've grown into that, so it's not. That's why I always say I don't judge anybody who doesn't. But and my good friend David Thompson, who just retired, who was the guy who started the Dead Last Starters, he used to say, and he wanted to prove that it didn't matter where you started, you could still have a good run. And he would run, and and that was the first intention was, he would start at the very back, and he would run, and he would pass up a certain amount of people. And so he wanted to show that you could do it, and you can. There's a lot more intangibles than just that. So it's not like just saying, yeah, that it's perfect that way. It's not, because like somebody pointed out, sometimes there's more congestion, and so you're going to have to slow it down. So you're going to have to adjust this properly. So, yeah, I would. It's not an exact science. Again, being a certified running coach, and I've talked to the Track Shack people. They're great people, by the way. I love interacting with them too. Um, they do. I'm going to say is, they do make some mistakes when it comes to where they put you and stuff. And I always look at it this way. I go, okay. And I used to be the type that would sit there going like, man, and I'm upset. You need to, get me up. And now I say, okay, I'll start where you want me to, and I'll just go. And so, but I have faith in what I can do. And so that's what changed me. Now the Disney runs, because they are so different, because of the characters, the character pictures, and so forth and so on. And that's where a lot of the people want to get there a little bit, more in front. Now, I'll give you a little secret that I got to do. Now, this is not exact either, but whenever I start in the back, especially for the longer runs, and I stay with them, I stay in the back, I actually get to take a lot of pictures, because and if you watch the main one that I would say is, watch the 10 miler video for the last Springtime Surprise. So the one that just happened this past April. I believe there was 17 or 18 pictures. I only missed one, and it was Mickey and Minnie in front of the Chinese Roman Theater. That was the only one that I missed. I would actually, I actually would run up, and it was funny because I would see the characters, and everybody was afraid of the balloon lady. So I would just run up there, and I would get a picture, And I even got some pictures with the balloon ladies, and so the balloon ladies with the character too. So and Dennis came out in some of the pictures, and some of you guys. I'm one of those people, by the way. If you ever see me and I'm taking a picture and I'm by myself, I just had somebody just say, "Hey, can I take a picture with you?" And I said, "Of course you can. Come on in." I don't. I'm never bothered by that kind of stuff. And now, they have kind of restricted that no more than like 10 people and stuff because yeah, it just becomes harder for the people taking the pictures. But yeah, but just know your pace and stuff. The last corral was so stressful. Yeah, I can see that. Uh, Pushing and shoving. Yeah, and so I like to have more civilized. Yeah. So the reason that I don't have that because at the very back, and I've always said this. I've told this to many people. So I'm in most of the time. I'm in the last corral. So it's the last corral leaves. So that's where the pushing and shoving goes. Then it's the dead last starters. So then they go. So there's a little lag because we're like interacting with John, Pelkey, and Carissa, and Riley, who I love Riley. I love all of them, but Riley, I love the stories and he's just awesome. So, and we're interacting with them. So then they take off, and then it's Dennis and I, and then Dennis and I walk up and we turn and we wait for the balloon ladies to come. And so by the time we go, there's a spread, or there usually is a spread. Not all the time, especially once we get to like the 10Ks, the shorter races. By about 2 miles in, the spread goes away. So that's it. But I could easily see that. Yeah. And we really have to watch and educate people on the pushing and the shoving, because that's going to lead to something that's probably not wanted by anybody. That's not their intention. They just want to have their elbow room, so they elbow somebody falls, and they can get hurt seriously. So that's something I myself work on. I kind of try to talk to people instead, so that way they're more calm. But I can see that, Jessica, because when you're there, you are excited, whatever and stuff. Then all of a sudden you're like, it gets nerve wracking, and then all of a sudden you're, like, okay, am I going to get to take pictures? Am I going to get swept? Am I going to, this is going to happen? So that happens. And again, I'm lucky enough that one of the things I have going on me is experience. So I've done this, and so I'm fine most of the time. If you ever see me on the course, chit chat with me, and I will chit chat with anybody. I've done that many times, and I will do that. So guys, we got about 17 minutes past. So I'm just gonna say one last question. Anybody? I do look forward to seeing all of you guys pretty soon. And if anybody's going to be at the 70th anniversary of Disneyland, so basically the Disney parks coming this Friday, I will be there. And so I plan on being there for rope drop. So I'm going to be there early. So the balloon ladies doing the 5K, so they usually do that. No, David, that's an excellent question. No, it was just this past the springtime surprise. They actually, because they signed up for the challenge, so they were there, but they were balloonless. So they I rarely ever see them in any races without their balloons, and so this is one of the first times that I saw them. I lost them here and there because I was doing my own thing, so I lost them. But no, there is no balloon ladies for the 5K. With that said, those of you doing Disneyland, especially if you're not doing it, you haven't done it before, I should say, and you're doing the 5K. This is where I have talked to Disney, and I hope that they fix it, because they have them as untimed runs. 5Ks are untimed runs. So to me, as a race director, a person who has put on races before, that to me means they can take their time, and that's what you basically announced. That is not true. So my first experience was this past January, where they were actually threatening to sweep people. And I was like, what? It didn't make sense. And I was the last one to start. I actually was the last one to start. I was chatting with Carissa, and next thing I know, I took off. And so anyways, and then for the 10K, they started doing, well, the 10K, obviously you can sweep them, but it was almost like they were trying to get people off the course. And so I went and I talked to one of the people in charge, and I said, hey, and I recorded some of the stuff that some of the cast members were saying. Never put this on. I've never put this on any of my of the channel. I've never put that. I just showed it to him, And I just showed them this is not Disney stuff. You don't tell people get off the course. You tell them, hey guys, there's a possibility that whatever, when we don't want to see you get swept and stuff, and so we're doing that. So, but with the 5K, what I want them to do is, because they do want to close the park about an hour before it opens and before rope drop, and they are not taking into account that they basically have misled. So I'm really saying, I really hope that they do the right thing and say, hey, we're gonna. And I actually told them this, to say although it's an untimed run, we do need to close the course 1 hour before theme park opens. So if it opens up at 8, they need to close it by 7, and so that would at least give people the expectations, because I always say whoever sets the expectations is at fault. So if they set the expectation that it's an untimed race and then they decide to time it, they're at fault. Now, if they say it's a timed race and you just ignore that, they've already set it the expectations. So now it defaults over to you guys. So airline of choice, Southwest Airlines. I'm an A-lister with them. I'm going to be flying them on Tuesday. So far, I really enjoy them, but they have a lot of changes coming up. So that is going to be interesting, what the changes are going to be. I hope to God they're not bad. That's all I'm going to say. So I'm one of those, I'm an optimist, so I like to think that this is going to be okay. So note, again, if anybody's going to be at Disneyland this week, I'm going to be there since Tuesday. Jonathan had asked earlier, Jolly Jonathan had asked earlier if what I'm looking forward to, and as I interact with, I know I'm going to see some of you guys over there, some of the people from Disneyland over there, and I love interacting with you guys, just seeing stuff. I don't think they're going to make any Disneyland announcements that are going to be Run Disney related, but I'll try to see what's going on for the 70th. And I do think that the lanyards, so on the metal, the lanyard part is probably going to be, it's probably going to say 70th. Is it going to have 70th on it for Halloween, and then for the Disneyland one, I think those are the two. But that's it. We haven't had a question in a while. I just want to thank you guys. Happy Mother's Day again for those of you who came in a little late. And I earlier when we first started, I said Happy Mother's Day. Thank you guys for sharing Sunday evening with me. I look forward to interacting with you guys more and more and more, and seeing you guys in the runs. And if anybody has any other questions, Manny Runs Disney on social media, on either Facebook or on Instagram. And look forward to having a great season that we're going to have. And again, training videos will be coming out. So thank you very much. I'm going to say good night. Thank you guys, and create a magical evening, guys. Thank you.